Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. So today we've got a quick beginner's guide to how to use Burning Abyss in 2021. So we're just going to go through a quick walkthrough of what each card does. So Graph, special ones from deck. It's your key Burning Abyss monster. Your Seer, special one from the graveyard. Scarm searches for a level 3 Dark Fiend in your end phase, so you can search all your BAs, plus your tour guide. Sadly you can't search a Rhino, but hey ho. Farther is temporary spot removal, so when it goes to grave, it can banish a face-up monster on either side of the field until the end phase. And then you've got Libic, which specials one from hand, but its effects are negated. This really helps when you've got non-BAs on the field, so they don't destroy themselves. Then we've got Barbar. This allows you to burn by banishing Burning Abyss names from your graveyard. Very useful piece of interaction where you can send this off a Cherubini while targeting a Seer, and then that Seer becomes 3,400 attack, so then it means you can beat over things like Dragoon if it hasn't used its negate yet. And then Barbar also is very good for winning in time, because if time is called on your turn and you both have the same life points, way to access Barbar, you just burn and you win in time there. And we have Alec, which is a effect veiler, more or less. When it gets sent to grave, target a monster in the field, it negates the effects until the end of the turn. A very useful card in a few situations. And then the most underrated card in the Burning Abyss lineup is the Cowcab. This card wins you so many games, because when it gets sent to grave, you can bounce a set spell trap on the field back to hand. So if you send this in your opponent's end phase, that set card where you just set, maybe it's a schism, maybe it's a punishment, just bounce back to hand, and so you don't have to play through it. So that's your names which you're going to be playing. Ones you can probably cut are Alec, and then might decide Barbar and have these names. But if you're playing the control variant of this deck, you do want to play all these names. Then the ordinary Burning Abyss monster is Rhino. What Rhino does is, when it's on the field, your Burning Abyss monsters can't be shot by card effects, so if you summon your Burning Abyss, it won't die because Rhino protects all your fiends from card effects, except from itself. And then also when it gets sent to grave, it sends any of your Burning Abyss names, or it sends your Batjack, which allows you to have just a whole bunch of versatile pieces of removal or extension or recovery play just by having access to Rhino. And then the main normal summon is Tour Guide. This tours out any of these cards from the deck, and their effects are negated so they don't destroy themselves when they're summoned. In most cases you summon out either Graph or Seer, depending on what sort of game state it is, but in vast majority of cases it is a Graph. So now, moving on to the traps of the deck, we play two removal options in a sense of Dynamiscus and Karma Cut. So what we do is they both discard a card to then banish card on the field. Dynamiscus just targets the face up and it discards for effect, so you don't have to discard until the effect does resolve. And Karma Cut, you discard for cost and you have to target a face up monster your opponent controls, but the payoff of that is it banishes all the cards in the graveyard with the same name. So say if you have a Eldritch of the Golden Lord on field and one in grave, you go Karma Cut on the one on field, discard a random card, and then it banishes the one on field and in grave. So in the Eldritch matchup, that can just win you the game because most decks only play two, and there's no real way to recur that board. So that can be a winner. So that's why I do choose this over the Phoenix Wing Blast instead. Then we have two traps which interrupt with the graveyard. So we have Fiend Griefing, which I think is edging out to be the best trap in the deck, or best normal trap in the deck. So what it does is it targets a monster in your opponent's graveyard, shuffles it into deck, and then you can send a Fiend from your deck to grave. So what the options you get from this card is, you can send a Batjack, which allows you to get another trap. You can send a Graph to then get a Seer. You can get just bodies on the field if you need to protect yourself a little bit. In the end phase, you can send a Scarm to get a search, or if your opponent is really low on life points, I've done this once or twice before, is I sent a Barbar Because if you are underneath 900 life points, if you just send the Barber, you can even go send Graf. Graf summons Barber. Barber kills itself if there's a non-BA on the field, just as an extra name if you needed it. But if it are 900 or lower, the Barber will just win you the game, which means the Griefing will win you the game. What you can do with this as well is during the end phase, you can send any random monster in their graveyard back to the deck, and then you can send a Cow Cab. Now what this does is, it bounces a set spell and trap on the field back to hand. So if you're doing this in the end phase, you bounce that only set card back to their hand. That means that you don't have to play through it next turn, and you can just kill them that turn. This has came up so many times, especially when I was playing against this Zephyr 60 card list. I bounced back their Divine Strike 3 times, and I won because I bounced it back and then I IDP'd his Alphamax. After I did grind for a few more turns, but that was a big situation where, yes, I'm winning the game now because I bounced back that set card so many times. And the thing is, I've done it about 3 times in that match because you can just add it back with Dante, you can summon it back with Seer. You can get access to this card quite easily. So in certain situations, it is very strong. IDP, I do think, in general, is the best normal trap in the format. What it does is target a monster in your opponent's graveyard, summon it to your field, then you can banish one of the same type from both fields. So what you can do in this is, if they have a Dragoon, you can target the Dark Magician in the graveyard, banish both, which people normally do. Or, say if they summon Verte, and you have your Verte on your field, you can Ice Dragon's Prison back, say they're playing Eldritch, a variant of Eldritch which plays Dragoon. So you Ice Dragon's Prison their Eldritch Golden Lord to your field, and you banish both yours and their Vertes. Because it doesn't require you to banish the same type as the one you summoned. As long as you control the same type as your opponent, you can just banish them both. This can also come up if you're playing against certain decks, such as Unchained, because all your guys are fiends, so are theirs. Or even against a Paleozoic Frog, you can banish your own Dynamiscus if it's on the field. So you can go, or if it's in grave, so if it's in grave, you go Chainik 1 Ice Dragon's Prison, Chainik 2 Dynamiscus. You summon this, and then because you summoned off of this, you can now decide to banish both. You can choose the Dynamiscus, which can banish the Toad, because you might not target a Aqua. So you can summon this, and then they either have to negate the Dynamiscus in grave, which is the waste of a Toad negate, or they just lose their Toad. So in that situation, this can come up quite well. As well as just other targets in your deck which you can do, or your extra deck. Say Link Spider if you do use the Dynamiscus, or IP Masquerena, Trisbania, or if you really need to, Ball Sword, if you need to get rid of a dragon and they don't have a dragon in the graveyard. So there's a little bit of a overload of information there, but we'll move on to the board wipes. So Needle Stealing and Torrential Tribute more or less do the same thing. Needle Stealing is if there's 4 more monsters on the field, destroy all face-up monsters. And then Torrential Tribute is when a monster is summoned, destroy all monsters. So in certain matchups, these come up differently. If you're going first, Stealing is very strong in the sense that you're setting up 3 monsters anyway. So you're setting up for Verte, Dragoon, and Beatrice. So that's the 3 monsters on the field. So as soon as I start summoning monsters, Stealing becomes live. You've already used the Beatrice effect to send a Batjack or a Scarm or something else. And Verte's done its purpose to get the Dragoon. And Dragoon doesn't get destroyed by your own effects either. So say against Prank Kids, you have this board. They go normal summon, you can just chain on summon, go Needle Stealing. You don't care that you're going 3 for 1 because these two don't really do anything. And getting rid of a normal summon can be the biggest win in your book. With Torrential, you have to time it a little bit better, because unlike Needle Sealing, you have to use it on the summon. Yeah, and it's also a when effect, so it can be chain blocked quite easily, but we'll move on from that. It's still one of the best board wipes in the game. The only reason I like Sealing a little bit more than the Torrential is I can use this in battle phase or end phase. So I can go. I'm going to bring up an example from one of my streams where I had a set backjack, say a random card, and I think I had a Seer in hand. It's going against Dinosaur. So he attacks, he sends it to grave. I take 1k. And he has UCT, Zeus, Pentastag, and Rex, I believe. And then what I do is, let me find a card. So I trigger off a backjack, and I see both of these. So I'm like, oh, okay. This wins me the game, because I set the Sealing to the top, Tour Guide on the second, come back to the top of the deck. I go backjack effect, get the Needle Sealing. On resolution, Needle Sealing, go a 6 for 1. So I'm already +5 in that situation. Then I top deck the Tour Guide because I put it there. Normal summon. I do get ashed, but I do win the game because of the Needle Sealing off of the backjack. So that's the only time I really like it. It can be annoying sometimes if it's a simplified game state and there's not many monsters on the field, but in most cases you should be able to resolve it. And then the card to search all these cards is Trap Trick. So what it just does is it banishes a normal trap from your deck to a grave. No, banishes a normal trap from your deck, then set a trap of the same name from your deck to your field. And you can activate that turn, but you can't activate any more traps for the rest of the turn after that, after one more trap. So it can be annoying if you have multiples of this, because it is once per turn. As well as if you have, say, something like this, and you really need a griefing. You really need a thing griefing, and that's the only thing what does, say, actually, let's have a Dynamiscus here instead. You really need a griefing for the situation. So if you go for a griefing, it means that you now forfeit all these cards, which is kind of bad, but if that griefing wins you the game, it wins you the game. So it is worth it. And you play free of it because it allows you to have access to all your traps whenever, more or less. Because as long as you open this or one of these, you have access to it. So more or less, you have 6 copies of all these in deck, as well as 5 copies of this, because you only play 2 of. So that gives you a much higher probability of seeing a trap you need, instead of just a trap which doesn't do much in that matchup. That's Trap Trick sorted. The only counter trap in the deck, Solemn Strike. The most versatile trap card I'd say in this deck, as well as probably the most powerful as a 1 for 1. Because against Prank Kids, you strike their summon of their Link monster, so their Prank Kid in the graveyard doesn't get their effect. You can strike hand traps and just negate them, so then your plays go through fine. Strike hits so many things, and the best thing is, it is a spell speed 3, so there's not many things in the game which can just stop it. The best time to use this is when you partner it up with a card which demands a threat, or a response, I mean. Oh, all these, more or less. So say your opponent summons a monster in the dragon board. They have like Savage Dragon, and they're going for Guard Dragon plays now. So say you go Needle Sealing. They have to negate this. If they don't, then they're just dying. They go Savage Effect. You go Chain Strike. Even if they have Hot Red on the field, they can't do anything because they can't respond to this with a spell speed 2 effect. So little interactions like that are absolutely amazing and will win you so many games going second. Also, there's a life point cost on the card, but it doesn't come up much at all. It is so worth 1500. And then I say the best Floodgate in the game. I'm gonna say right now, Imperial Order is stupid. pay 700 each standby phase, and it negates all spells on the field. I don't think we realise how many spells we actually do play. So in a 50 card deck, we play 4 spells, and one of them we don't even use. We just send it from deck to grave for cost, so you can just ignore that. And the only thing what these do is get you ways into your order, into your plays. So you don't really need these. These can just be discard fodder. So it means that if you do go first and you do stick an order, you're winning that match in a lot of matchups. So now moving on to the extra deck, we're going to start off with Dante Traveler of the Burning Abyss. It's a rank 3 monster which requires 2 level 3s. Once per turn, you can mill up to 3 cards from the top of your deck to your graveyard. And this card gains 500 for each. The mill from deck to grave is for cost, so they can't Ash Blossom their effect of Dante. When this card is battled, or more or less attacked this turn, it gets changed to the defense position in the end of the battle phase. Very good for attacking for 2/5 because you gain 1500. And then it goes to defense, so then you have a 2/5 defense as well, which is very strong. And when this card is sent to a graveyard, you can add a Burning Abyss card from your graveyard back to hand. That isn't once per turn, and it doesn't matter how it gets to grave. As long as it hits the graveyard, you're adding a card back. One of the strongest cards ever printed as a XYZ. Mark my words. Then we're going to go into the Link 2 Burning Abyss monster, which is Cherubini, Airborne Angel of the Burning Abyss. So this is a Link 2 monster. It requires 2 level 3s. Monster it points to can't be destroyed by card effects, so that comes up with the Burning Abyss monsters because all of them have a condition on the card, which says that if there's a non-Burning Abyss monster on the field, they destroy themselves. If this card would be destroyed by battle or card effect, it can send a card in your field to a graveyard instead, which allows it to stay on the field quite a lot longer than normal. So even through Torrential, through Trident effect to pop, Conquistador to destroy, it can stay on the field if you just have more cards to send, as well as if they have a few monsters which can battle. You could just keep on sending stuff with this. You're going to take damage because it's only 500, but sometimes it's worth it. And its main effect is you can target a Burning Abyss monster you control, which can be itself as well, send a level 3 from your deck to grave, and then the monster which you targeted with the first effect gains attack and defense equal to the card you sent. So if you send a 1000 card, the monster which you targeted gains 1k on attack and 1k defense. The send is for cost as well, which means that this is very strong as a combo enabler. And it's just a very problematic card in certain situations for your opponent, because if you have, say, a monster with 1600 attack underneath here, and you send a monster with 1500 attack, and you target the 1600 attack monster, like a Seer of Mel Branch, that monster is now on 3100. So that can attack over Dragoon. If that Seer was normal summoned, you can attack over Avromax and they can't gain the attack. You can attack over a lot of things, 3/1. So just keep that in mind, where things like that can be just extremely powerful. So moving on to the XYZ, or the other XYZ of the deck, we got Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal. It's not a Burning Abyss name of the card, but it's definitely a Burning Abyss card. How you summon it is either 2 level 6s, or if you have a Burning Abyss on your field, or a Dante on your field, and you have a Burning Abyss monster in your hand, you send the Burning Abyss from your hand to a graveyard to then just overlays on top of the Dante. The only restrictions this has is it can't use this effect the turn it's summoned, if it's summoned using the Burning Abyss. And the effect what she has is a quick effect to detach a material to send a card from the deck to grave. So that is very strong, very powerful effect. If it's destroyed by battle or card effect, it can summon a Burning Abyss monster from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. So if this card gets dealt with, you just float into another card, which is quite scary, and a lot of people try and get around the destruction effect of Beatrice, because this is a card you normally summon. So this is Dante Pilgrim of a Burning Abyss. So this card cannot be targeted. If it's destroyed by battle or card effect, it rips a card out of your opponent's hand. And quick effect, you can discard a Burning Abyss monster, I believe. Oh, apologies. It sends a Burning Abyss card from your hand to a graveyard, to then draw a card as a quick effect. That is a soft once per turn, so if you discard a Farther, you can target this, banish it to the end phase. When it comes back, you can just use the effect again to discard another card. So this is a very problematic card for your opponent to deal with a lot of the time, and if you summon this, a lot of the time you're going to win. So other quite notable cards in the extra deck, we have Verte Anaconda and Dark Dragoon. So Verte sends a fusion spell from your deck to grave to copy its effect. This is for cost, for you can't Ash Verte in any way, shape or form, even if the fusion spell requires, or it sends from deck to grave, like Red Eye's Fusion. And Dragoon is a monster of a card, cannot be targeted, can't be destroyed by card effects. Quick effect, you can discard a card to negate a card activation or effect. And if it destroys the card, it gains 1000 attack. Then up to the amount of normal monsters you use for its fusion summon, you can destroy monsters on your opponent's field, and they take attack equal to the original attack of a monster. So if you summon this using Red Eyes and Dark Magician, you can destroy 2 monsters your opponent controls. It doesn't target, it doesn't care if it's face up or face down, and if it does destroy, it burns for a lot of damage. So say if you have so you only have Dragoon on field, it's on 3000 attack. They have 2 Eldritch Golden Lords. You go Dragoon and get effect to pop, destroy one. Dragoon effect to pop, destroy the other. Then you can just attack the game, because that is a full 8k right there. It's a very annoying card to deal with. When we go into a 49 Fortune Tune, this card is amazing for making Zeus, and then the Downer comes into it, where Downer just goes on to a rank 3 or lower, I believe, and it means that you have an extra material. Zeus, very strong card in this deck. Exceed battles this turn, you can overlay this onto any Exceed, and then quick effect, you can just detach 2 materials from this card to then send all cards on the field, except from itself, to the graveyard. Very strong at removing control boards. IP Masquerader is the backup option for when you either mill or you already use your Dragoon engine. Just goes into a Unicorn on your opponent's turn, which is a very strong piece of interaction. Or you can summon Trisbana with it, which allows you to clear up the Eldritch matchup very easily. And when a monster is summoned to a zone at a link monster zone, it banishes all spells and traps on the field. And for each one of your opponent's cards, it burns for 500 each. So, getting to simplify game state, this can just win you a lot of control matchups. And then Bull Sword, this is going to be changed out for access code talker soon, but this can just win you games. Just summon a few guys out and you just win. So I hope everyone has enjoyed this video. I just want to have a quick overview of the basics of the deck and just what the cards do. Because a lot of the time people don't read their cards properly, so I want to make sure that everyone was understood that what the cards do, how they can be used, and hopefully I've gave some people some insight with this. Shortly I'm going to be uploading a video of some common combo lines, such as the 1-card combo with Tour Guide and certain situations where you do come into effect a lot. So just let me know what you want to see next. I'll be hoping to see if I can get another full meta guide to play this deck against another meta matchup, like my Dragon Link video. So hopefully I can get another deck on there soon, but for the time being, there's nothing set in stone. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, like, subscribe and all that. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.